This is going to be a quick walkthrough of the defining space exercise. So the first thing we'll do is we'll jump into InDesign, and I'm going to create a new page. So if I go create new, and if I can't see what I want here, up the top I've got print, view all presets, and we can find whatever we want. So I want A4, I'm going to have it as tall. I changed the measurements to millimeters, that's just easier for me. And we switch the facing pages off. We only want one page at the moment. And down here, you can see there's a link. So if I highlight this and write 25, and then I hit tab, it actually changes all of them. And that's what I want. I want a margin of 25 all the way around. So I'll go create. And there we go. We've got our image now. Up the top you might find that it looks like this. It has no toolbar up the top, and now it has the property windows that has all these elements down through it. My preference, my personal preference, is I come up here to the workspace where it says Essentials, and I put it on Essentials Classic, so that the properties menu is kind of across the top. That's just my preference. Now, if I go to pages, the first thing on InDesign you'll notice is you have pages here, but you have something that's called a master. Now, anything that you put on a master page will appear on every page that you add in that has the A on it. So, for example, if I put a new page in, you can see it automatically comes up with the A master. If it doesn't, I can just drag it on. And I'll just click that and delete it. The reason for this is you can put objects and guides and markers on the master page if you want it to appear on every single page going through the publication. So things like page numbers and grids and stuff like that. So we're going to double click on the master page. That's the one we're going to work on first. And we're going to set up our boxes or grids for the exercise. So if I come over here, I need to click and hold down so I can get the rectangle. So I'm looking for the frame tool. If I click, hold down and drag, and if I hold the shift key, it constrains it to being a square, it doesn't distort. And then I can come up to this top menu and I can put in some dimensions. So I know this frame is 25. I can see that the measurements are going to happen from that top left corner. So if I go 25, tab, 25, tab, you can see that it's going to line up perfectly with that corner. Tab just means it's going to jump onto the next box and I don't need to double click and go through it box by box. So the width, I want to have it on 40, tab, 40. So we've got a 40mm square lined up perfectly with that edge. Now I'm going to go edit, and I'm going to put on something called step and repeat. Once I put that on, and you can see it's already kind of got numbers in here, I'll just put it back to 1. I'm going to create as a grid. So if it only shows one here, grid will give us columns and rows, and that's what we want. So I'll start with columns going across, and I'll start with 2. At the moment, it looks like nothing has happened. And so down here, we'll put in 40, 40, and you can see it's very light, but you can kind of see the rows and the columns coming in. So you can just see 3. So I want 4 across, and I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 down. Okay, it was just a little bit hard to see. Because it's 40 and 40, I know that everything's going to line up. I'll go OK. Now, with the arrow tool, the black arrow tool, just going to make sure everything's selected. I'm going to come up here, click on the arrow beside it, and I'm going to say the fill needs to be white. Click off, just check, and there's no line, so this is important as well. At the moment, there's no lines. Now some of these, I'm going to colour them up. So if I click this square, this, go through and randomly pick a few, and I'm going to change these to black. Now this gives us some kind of template to work on. So now I want to get off the master. So I double click on page 1 and really just check it all the time and see what you're working on. See which one is highlighted. Master, page 1. So on page 1, I'll leave that. If I try and pick anything up, I can't. So next, we're going to do some shapes. So again, I'll get the frame tool, hold down the shift key, and do a square. Now this time the width and the height needs to be 20. So 20, tab, 20, tab, and I'm going to make sure it's got a line of none. Fill, black. Now I'm going to my arrow tool because one of the things I can do is once this is highlighted, if I hold down the option key, you'll see I get 2 little arrowheads. While I've got that, holding down the option key, click and drag, and it'll copy that square. Now if I go to the pen tool, when I go over one of these corners, you'll see that a minus comes up beside the pen tool. That means when I click, it's going to delete that point. So an easy way to get a triangle. Now the square frame tool, if I click and hold down, I'll get other options. And so I want the ellipse, holding the shift key, I drag out a circle, and I'm going to make sure again that like the square, it's 20 wide by 20 high. And then I can fill it black with the line of none. Oopsie, I just checked that it's right. Yep, fill with a line of none. Now if I select all of these, hold down the option key, click and drag, I can change the color of these to white. So now I've got a set of my black and white symbols. Now the first thing to look at here is if I go view, under grids and guides, you just want to make sure that smart guides is switched on, that it has a tick beside it. And just what this means is that as I drag this over, and actually I can copy it using the option key, let go of the option now and drag it, you can see the line. So there's a green line that pops up when it's centered, a vertical one that shows, so now the green line shows it's centered vertically and horizontally, and it snaps to these guides. Option, I can bring in the triangle now, and let's say I want to rotate this shape around. I just go outside a corner, you end up with this kind of double arrow. If I click, and if I hold the shift key, it will constrain it. It will snap to like horizontal, 45 degrees or 90 and so on, so I can get that shape slotted in there. Moving them around until I get something that I like the look of. Always trying to think compositionally of the balance, the shapes that are being created, how all of that is working. Okay, so again, option. Let's do another one. So I'm going to put this here so it kind of aligns with those two black squares. So you can actually click and start dragging. As you're dragging, then hold down the option key and duplicate it that way. So, sure about those shapes, but we'll leave it for the time being. Now, one of the things that happens here is this, with the lines over the top of it, it can become awkward to look at. So the option you have is if you hold down the Command, Option, Shift key, and you hit Y, it will bring those grid lines forward, or hitting Y, it'll take them away. So you can have a look at it without having all those lines all over it. Makes it a little bit easier when you're playing around with it. So it's this way that we're going to go through and start to construct all these squares. See what we can make of it. Oh, just drag that back. I forgot to use the option key. Just not quite clicking at the right time. Now I've got the option key, so again, Shift, change that kind of rotation, Command, Option, Shift, Y, preview it. Yeah, okay. And now with this one, how am I going to break it up with these white shapes? Right. Remember the option key. That's quite good as the arrow. Start dragging option. And again, you can see a smart guide, so you can see when it's centered up nicely. So I've got all of that. Command Option Shift Y. Have a look. Yep. Okay. And we keep moving around. Now the other thing that you can do is with these, let's say it's like, actually, I don't want that black square there anymore. If you hit Command Shift and click on it, it actually unlocks it from the master page. Okay, so that the master page, or if you do a duplicate a second one, it'll put it back up there. But this lets you move it a bit more independently. So I can move it around. Obviously, I'll keep picking it up, so I need to go Object, Lock, which is Command L. And if I want to move this again, then I have to go up to Object, Unlock All. And then it will move again. So Command L is going to lock it, and Command Option L is going to unlock it. Command L, locked. And then we can start dragging some of these items along. So every square has to have one triangle, one square, and one circle in it. And how you can kind of work that composition in there. Okay, so you can see here, this one, the circle has gone over the edge. You know, I can cover it with a black circle or not, so you've got some leeway there. Now, the next thing, if I close pages, is that you have swatches. Usually the way that I start is I click on this little hamburger menu and go select all unused, and I trash them, just so I'm starting with white and black. Then I can double click on my fill, and I can go through and I can start to play around with these colors and choose various colors. And then when I've got a color I like, I can add it to the swatches. Up here, pick something else, add it, and it comes up here. So you can end up with a few colors that are starting to happen in here, and then you can kind of run through here and say, okay, shift, click, I'm going to grab those two, fill them with that color, maybe these two I'll fill with the same color. In this case, I need to unlock all because it was one of the locked ones, and then I can click on it and change the color. This one here, Command Shift, click on it, then I could change the color because that's one that's actually on the master page. So you can kind of go through here, Command Shift, click, get that, and start to play around and modify these colors and get a different combination right across. So Command Option Shift Y, so I can preview it without those lines across it, and then take it back. Okay, we'll leave it there.